Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks. It's our special Saturday here at the bar. We've turned the lights back on. I think we broke Taryn's headphones. Well, I think we've broken her headphones already. It's already impressive that somehow we've broken headphones, because it can't be a music show unless something is broken moments before things are happening. And that's what we're doing tonight. We have with us, courtesy of Wendy Ford and her production, her PR company, brought us and hooked us up with, I'm going to tell you folks, if you haven't listened yet, go look up Taryn Hadfield. She's out there. She has a hauntingly awesome voice. She has a new song, Manic Pixie Dream Girl, that we're going to play a clip from. And I think this is going to be, and I love all of our prior guests, but this might be the first like real legit no shitter star that we're going to have. Because like, I mean, other than your host, I mean, like this is legit. Taryn, thanks for coming on with us.
Thanks.
You got to get, you're a star. You got to get applause. You need applause.
Oh, thank you. No, this is probably the biggest hype I've ever gotten on an interview or talking with anybody. So,
I mean, Wendy. So I'll tell the story. So Wendy sends me your stuff. Says, "Hey, take a look at this. Tell me if you'd like to have her on." I listened to the song, and I'm going to play it here in a minute after we do some house cleaning. Manic Pixie Dream Girl. I played that song, and I was like, "Yeah, no shit. Yeah, yes, I would want her on my show. Why wouldn't
Aww.
I?" And I've told you, and we'll get into this here in a minute. Let's do some house cleaning, and we'll get into the other stuff here in a minute. So as always, folks, get ready. Happy New Year, John L. Thank you, brother, man. I appreciate you. You should play her music for the football team before they get ready to go out, get them all hyped up. But before we get going, as always, this is New Year's. It's January 1st. If you're hanging out with me with your hangover, a little bit of relaxing at Saturday night at this point, you should be in recovery. For those of you that are watching, make sure you share this everywhere. I stopped doing all the shares myself after Facebook decided I needed to be banned for sharing. Old Zuck likes to share stuff with me, but I guess I can't share with nobody else. So, when you're a billionaire, you can do that shit.
True.
We'll ask her. Have you watched the movie Don't Look Up yet?
I have not, but I've heard really, really good things from all my friends.
It's interesting. It's interesting. I have to tell you, we'll talk. But as always, sticker in a cause, folks. If you got something out there you believe in, you're an up-and-coming music artist and you need to share your sticker, you're a podcaster, you got a charity, I don't care what it is, reach out to me. All of our media is The Above the Bar Podcast, whether it be our Gmail, The Above the Bar Podcast @gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch are all The Above the Bar Podcast. The only one that's goofy is @AboveTheBar4 for our Twitter, because whoever, I don't even know who owns Twitter. The Twitter god said I couldn't have that one. Like, we all know who Zuck is, but nobody knows who Twitter is. But they said I couldn't have that one. But I was on a show that I had such a great time with. It was kind of like the daytime version of my show. Where
Nice.
Yeah. So like I have bourbon, she has tea. So it was coffee and tea. Yeah, so coffee and tea with Carrie V. So she sent us, and so she sent us a sticker. Life is short, choose wisely. Carrie V. For those of you that can't see it, it's a nice little circle and everything. So she sent that over to us. We're going to put that up on the big board. She's a phenomenal interviewer, like kind of person that makes me like, I'm like, I thought I knew what the hell I was doing. And then you sit down with somebody, you're like, yeah, I suck. I'll figure this shit out though. So we've got her. Also, we all got to, it's all about the media. You got to be seen. And if your media needs a little bit of an upgrade, as we always say, reach out to Media by Dibs, and it's @Media by Dibs, DIBS, on all your major platforms. He's our sponsor. He helps me out with all my posts and thumbnails. All this week, though, he taught me how to do them. So all this week was me. So hopefully they didn't suck this week. But reach out to Media by Dibs and mention belly up to the bar, and you're going to get a 10% discount off your first order and a free consultation on what he can do for you. So make sure you're reaching out to at Media by Dibs. Now it is that time. Again, I'll say it one more time as everybody's starting to realize what we got going on here. You got to jump on. You got to share this to all your yard sale sites so I don't get banned. You can get banned from a yard sale site. So, but I'm going to put this one on, Taryn. Taryn, do you want me to play your song clip now? And hopefully I did a good job with it because I'm not an editor. I'm just
That's
a
okay. I'm not either.
So do you want to play the song now and get them all hyped up for it, or we want to kind of ease into it?
We can just play it now. That sounds fine with me.
So we're going to play a clip from Taryn's new album, and the new album name is?
It's Manic Pixie Dream Girl.
There we go. Manic Pixie Dream Girl by Taryn Hadfield.
Guess you better settle down and find yourself a nice girl. I'm like your new thing, your manic pixie dream girl. No more, no more, no more. Sorry that I complicated your simple world. Sometimes
We're both over here bopping our heads and shit.
I know.
You can't.
Every time I hear it, I'm like, oh, it is good. Okay.
Brian, John L., I know you're out there. Please send this girl a message and tell her she is an absolute real talent. So I read your backstory on the song. And
Okay.
folks, I'm going to tell you, there's other songs on there. And this is the way I equated your music. And I'm curious. I read that other people get the Stevie Nicks vibe.
Yep.
Lulu, that's my girl Lulu. It is look at Lulu, beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Brian, that was very good. So I get the Stevie Nicks vibe. Now you write your music, right?
Yep.
100%. Do you know who your writing reminded me of though? Adam Duritz.
Really?
I got an Adam Duritz vibe off of it.
I could see that. I've never gotten that connection before, but
so I'm a huge Counting Crows fan. I love Counting Crows.
I grew up listening to them a ton because my mom was a big fan. So,
I want to get into this, and I guess we could tell everyone where Manic Pixie Dream Girl, where that term comes from. I looked at, what really blew my mind? That hashtag has 25,000 shares to the hashtag.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's mostly just because it's a cultural reference, and I feel like I hit it just at the right time that now people know what it is. So it's definitely like a cultural phrase that's getting thrown out more and more.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll tell you, I don't give a shit. So reading your look behind it, tell everybody. I know I'm stumbling over my words. I'm telling you, I feel like at any point, so one of these like tween movies where the girl like comes of age at 16, going up the coastal highway in California, like whipping off the cap after graduation. This is going to be the song at the end of the movie.
I hope it is. That would be my dream. If I ever got one of my songs in a movie, I would die. I would be so excited because I'm a big soundtrack person. I love movie soundtracks. And anytime I listen to an album, I always picture movies in my head or just memories playing. And so for me, if my album ever captured something like that, or even if it's just placed for 10, 20 seconds in anything, I would be over the moon. I would be so over the moon.
First movie soundtrack you ever owned?
Okay, this is a good one. I really loved. I think I was 13, and I think it was the Juno movie soundtrack with I know he goes by Elliot now. Elliot Page, the Ellen Page back then.
That time, yes.
At that time, and so I loved that movie soundtrack, and so I had that on my iPod. Was obsessed.
Little Shop of Horrors for me.
Good film.
And that was the like 80s remake of the original.
Oh,
Uh,
yep.
and I can still remember like that movie ending and telling my mom, we need to. Do you even know what Sam Goodies is? Do you know what Sam Goodies is?
I don't.
Yeah, now I'm aging myself real hard now. uh, uh, yeah, Sam Goody was a music store, and you go there, and I remember going there and buying the album. Pat says his first one was Footloose. That's another
Oh,
phenomenal.
that's
Some of
a
the
good album.
There were some great ones. So, Manic Pixie Dream Girl, it's your coming of age
It
song.
is.
So, what
Yep.
was going on when you're writing that song? Because I mean, you listen to it. If you can't hear like this is a young woman moving to that next level in her life, you got to turn your headphones up.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I wrote it. Let me think. So at that time, I had just graduated from college. I had moved back to my hometown. I moved into a property that my parents owned and was essentially renting out to my parents. It was the first time I lived by myself. I had gotten a startup job doing marketing, which was not something I studied. And so it was a lot of tumultuous things in my life. I felt like I was trying to be a lot of different things at that time. And I also was dating a lot of different types of people at the time, like having lots of meet this person, then you meet this person, and just trying to figure out who I was. And at that time, I had this huge, huge, big old crush on this guy that I had met in an open mic night. And he just did not feel the same way. And it was unrequited love, and I remember just getting so mad because I was just thinking, I don't know. So I was reeling from the rejection of that and turning to movies for comfort because for me, I'm a big movie and film person, and so I was watching like these movies: Scott Pilgrim versus the World, 500 Days of Summer, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Garden State, and a lot of these indie rom-coms where it's the same story. It's the disillusioned man meeting this peppy, young, vivacious, usually really quirky, almost Zoe Deschanel esque type
She
of.
is the ultimate girl for all those movies. Is Zoe Deschanel? Yes.
Exactly. And so I remember watching these movies and just thinking, oh my gosh, like I've been this girl in every relationship and friendship ever, trying to help someone regain their meaning in life again, but knowing nothing about myself. And so I was researching, like what that was called, and I found that term. It had been used in tons of blogs and tons of, like critiques of films, and I was like, that is what it is. That is what I have been, and yeah, so that's what was going on. It was just a lot of change. It was a lot of me trying to be a lot of different types of people, trying to figure out who I was outside of school, outside of various social groups I was a part of, because in your early 20s you lose a lot of friends and you live alone and you kind of have to figure it out.
It's funny you say that, having a son that are in their 20s, daughters in their 20s, down to I have a 4-year-old, and
Yeah.
we're a huge family. But it's funny you say that, trying to explain to people until you've lived that point, hey, look, your friends are going to change. No, listen to me. That I luck out that our opening music was written by one of my longest friends' sons,
Yeah.
but they're one of a handful, like, of people that I still hang with. So this really was your coming of age kind of breakout tune. Now, so you were doing some open mics.
Yep.
When did you first play this song at an open mic? Because I feel like this is one of those ones you play this and there's the guy in the back room going like, "Hey, come here, girl, let me talk to you for a moment." Like that's what I feel like, but I don't know anything about this stuff. So how did that go?
So basically, I played it. When did I play this? I'm trying to think. It was so I grew up in Boise, Idaho, of all places. It's a small town. It's basically the biggest small town you can imagine. Like I run into people I know every day, and anytime I'm back here. And and I lived there up until a few months ago, so it's still very, very fresh. And so I played my first few gigs were just at bars. And so I've been playing open mics, and I had gotten a bar gig at this place it's called Star, Idaho, and it's basically a biker bar.
Nice.
Yeah, and so my parents were a little concerned about me going out there by myself, so then they came with me as like essentially bodyguards. And I remember I played this song, and it was mainly just to play it, and there was maybe a handful of people in the bar, like 10 to 15 people, and I just played this song with my acoustic guitar and my sound system I had brought myself and bought myself. And I played it, and there's a couple people kind of bouncing their heads, and my parents were really excited, and and people were there that were kind of inspired the song lyrics, so that was a little interesting. But I was like, what, it's fine, I'll just show it off, it's great.
Wait a sec. So somebody was in the audience that they were part of the inspiration for the song lyrics?
I feel like that's happened to me a lot. So yeah, so that was interesting. I didn't know who was going to show up that night, and that was on my set list, and I was like, well, I guess I'm just going to play it anyway. And so yeah, and so I remember playing it, and my parents went up to me afterwards and were like, that's really different from what you've written before. And they said there's just something different there. And I said, yeah, there is definitely something different there, because I mean, prior to this last phase of songs that were on this album, I wrote mostly very chill, very not necessarily sad, but just very shy music. Very, yeah. And so this was kind of the first one that was definitely way more pop, way more rock than anything I had written. So my parents just noticed a shift in the writing, and were like, huh, that's something, there's something there, you should keep going that way. And
well, I'm gonna agree with your parents as a parent. As a parent, telling you yes, because like I like the other stuff, don't get that twisted at all, but it's like I said, it's that, I guess that's the other stuff, it's a little more melancholy.
Yep.
That's that Adam Duritz vibe.
Yeah, totally.
Because it's so great. So you play this to a bunch of bikers, Hell's Angels, pagans, 1%ers, a bunch of 1%ers out there.
Oh yeah.
all 1%. I'm gonna make up my own story to this shit, folks. It was all a bunch of 1%er bikers that were ready to throw down with chains and switchblades, and then they listened to Taryn's song, and they stopped and shook hands, and there was peace between all the gangs, and it was all because of Manic Pixie Dream Girl, the song. That's what happened.
There is actually, I want to say it was a couple weeks after I played there was a stabbing at the bar. I'm not kidding. And my parents pulled me over afterward. They're like, you can never play there ever again. Like,
oh, great. So I guess what's got me confused, and I don't know how I missed it in the bio. So where does the Seattle portion to everything come in? Because folks, if you're looking for Taryn, she's on Facebook and IG at Taryn, and it's TARYN, which reminds me of like some real sci-fi stuff. So your parents had to be in sci-fi stuff. TARYN, and then Hadfield, HADFIELD. But if you're looking for her on Twitch, because we're on Twitch, it's the same thing, but it's Taryn_Seattle.
Yes.
So help me out here. Where does it the switch?
So weird thing. So Seattle is actually my middle name legally. And so my parents were a little bit, they were very much into saving the environment, and they really loved Chief Seattle and the things he had to say about the environment. They also loved the city, Seattle. And I was not conceived there. I know everyone asks that. Everyone asks me, they're like, are you conceived there? I was like, I don't want to know if I was. I don't need to know that, but I wasn't. So that's my middle name. And then because of that, I had always had this obsession with Seattle, and I had never lived there. And it's, the home place of some of my favorite artists of all time, like Foo Fighters and Death Cab for Cutie, and, amazing artists that I'm obsessed with, and Nirvana. And so then recently, it was always my middle name. And so then to add a little bit of anonymity when I first started getting into music, because I still had a day job and, I just didn't want everyone to know it was me. So I used my first and middle name for a long time on everything. And then on Twitch, it just kind of stuck. And then it almost became this weird inside joke of Taryn Seattle, not from Seattle. And then eventually I actually did move to Seattle, and not just to clear things up with the name thing, but just because the music was there. I recorded there. I knew that eventually I was going to live there. I feel like my parents made it destiny somehow. And so yeah, so now I'm from there. So I'm Taryn Seattle from Seattle on Twitch. So that's fun. But
Now, so you talk about the amazing music artists, and God, we could just run down the list from, you already mentioned Nirvana, Stone Temple Pilots, Pearl Jam,
yeah.
Mother Love Bone. You can just start running down the list. What is it like, trying to be a Lulu likes that's the story behind it. Lulu says, "LOL." Pat Soundgarden.
Yep.
And Pat and I went to high school together, and Pat was always into heavier stuff than I was, but this is the music scene we grew up in. So what was it like going, oh, I'm going to do music. Let me go to like ground zero of 90s music, and I'll just start singing. What is it like walking into a place and being like, yeah, I can sing. Here it is. Like, did you catch attitude? Like, yeah, come on, girl. Let's go. Idaho girl. Let's go. Was it stuff like that?
So I've been in Seattle for only 2 months, and but I also recorded in Seattle this spring, which kind of launched me on I should move to Seattle. So I mean, I started playing open mic nights in Boise to really boost my confidence, and so I had enough positive interactions and moments where the bar would get quiet, and I was like, okay, so I'm doing okay. And so when I got to Seattle, a lot of my need to impress people, or my need to have everyone say wow when I played, was kind of gone, because I just liked playing just to play. And so when I got to Seattle, it was fun because I went to this, and I've only been to a handful of open mic nights just because I've been in and out for the holidays, but I went to this one, and it was this pub in Ballard. It was super cool. And so they had an actual sound system, and it was awesome because I had gotten so much practice and so used to people not listening to me. Because I mean, in Boise, music's background music. Like, you're at a bar and you're drinking with your buddies, and no one really pays attention, and it's usually covers and whatever. But there are people actually
Freebird,
or play Sweet Caroline, or I played a lot of Sweet Caroline. And then but at this bar, people quieted down, and it was mostly other musicians, and it was just really cool to have that moment of hush, and people come up to me and be like, wow, that was awesome. And like, I don't know, because I didn't get that at home. I got that every once in a while at home, and a handful of times I had good interactions, but I definitely, in Seattle, I was like, oh, okay, people really listen to music here. It's important.
And I think part of that is everyone, it is a musician's hub.
Yes.
It's sort of like, I think Seattle, and you're there. I always feel like if you do rock or any type of alternative to classic, drummer, bass, lead, guitar type music, any difference in sound, you're probably going to go to Seattle at some point. If you're doing country, you're going to Branson or Nashville, that type of place. So now you're in Seattle, you're playing music. Where do we go from open mic nights to somebody says, hey, we want to make an album?
Yeah. So the story of how I got onto the whole album and part of the label started back in 2019. And so okay, so I'll paint a picture here. So I had just graduated from college. I got a day job that I wasn't super stoked about, and I had a lot of time on my hands because I had no friends. So I started playing, bars and stuff just to feel something, just to meet people. That sounds really bad, but I understand. And so I was playing those, and I had done a lot of music when I was younger, and for once when I was really young, I got in this private performing arts school. And I only went for one semester because it was just really intense and I didn't think it was for me at that time and I wasn't ready. But one of my teachers from there ended up going to teach at Portland State, ended up being a part of a sort of songwriting, composition, music program at Portland State, and had approached me about going to that school when I was going to college, and I said no. And then he later on approached me as he found out that I was doing music again and said, "Hey, I have this project. Do you want to just talk about what you're doing music wise again with me?" Because we had kept in touch. He was a really awesome mentor and teacher. And so I said, "Sure." So we went out and we got tacos and talked about, what I had been doing music wise. And he says, "Yeah, so I'm starting a record label and I'm asking 8 artists to join. Do you want to be part of this?" And part of me was like, I got nothing going on right now. I will just say yes to this because what's the worst that can happen? Like,
Right.
it's just, let's see what happens. And so that was in 2019. And so I signed on, and basically he had a whole business plan of, he had his studio worked out. He had a label that he had a partnership with that helped us get, cheaper deals on all the different types of tools that go into recording and distribution and marketing and et cetera. So he had all these relationships set up. And so essentially he just had this plan and was like, so the only thing that's needed from you is you need to, because most labels, especially small indie labels, usually you need a lot of investors to make things happen. Like recording an album at a really high level takes a serious amount of money. And so he was like, "Yeah, you got to crowdfund." And he told me the amount of money I had to crowdfund. And I was like, okay, that is a lot. And I have no following right now. So
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So it was, but I decided to say yes. I was like, you know what? We'll see. Maybe I meet some millionaire one day and they're like, yeah, let's fund this.
Right.
Like,
Sure. We're on this. I got
we're all
millions.
yeah, I was like, maybe I'll just run into someone, who knows? And so that was November of 2019. So spring of 2020, we were planning on launching the crowdfund before, the pandemic. And so my idea was to crowdfund this album. I was going to have a show and I was going to just do it at a local venue like I usually did, invite all my friends. We'll pull a tablet around and have people just put in their credit card info and pay me money, and we'll have a donut. We'll just have like a big bucket of cash and have people throw money in. And I was like, somehow we'll raise some amount of funds and then I'll just go around to people and just beg to help them support me. It'll be great. It was not a very good plan. And so then April rolls around and sad times. And so the chick who I booked the show with was like, "Yeah, I don't think it's happening." I was like, "Yeah, I don't think it's happening either." And so everything got put on hold with the album for like months. And I had no idea how I was going to raise the money anymore. And basically my producer, Jeff, was like, "Well, I don't really know what we're going to do. We're going to do this eventually. I just don't know when." Like, because to get in the studio, you're going to have to be around people, work with mask mandates, and Seattle was insane at the time,
Oh yeah, that's the hub.
They were
I mean,
intense.
when it all first started, that was the first recorded case was a nursing home in Seattle.
Decimated.
So yeah, so I can't even imagine. Now, were you doing any of the what were they calling them at the time? Like living room sessions or whatever they were calling, where like you just get on Facebook and stuff like that and start playing music?
Yeah. So I was doing a handful of those. But before the pandemic in January 2020, this is a really weird story. I swear it's gonna come back to Twitch. But basically
It's all about
somehow
Twitch.
it's all about Twitch. So what happened was I had this friend of mine from college and he was telling me, and we got together for drinks. We were just catching up and he was telling me about this gaming platform where people would broadcast their lives essentially doing random activities. And I was like, "What is this called?" He's like, "It's called Twitch." And I was like, "Okay, that's kind of weird." And so I looked into it and he's like, "You should do it for your music." Cause I was telling him about the crowdfund. I was like, "I don't know how I'm going to make all this money. Like, there's no way. Like, I don't have enough friends and I don't have enough super rich family members to support this." And so he was like, yeah, just play your music on Twitch. There's people who do it. And so I looked into it. And so in January of 2020, I had a crappy old MacBook Air and no audio, no mic, no whatever. And I streamed from my house and I had 3 people watch me. And I was like, well, that's cool. That was fun. I'm probably never going to do that again. And then March rolls around. I'm like, I should start doing that again. And so I got enough money to get, a little interface and a nicer mic and, plugged my guitar into the interface. And I was like, I'll just start playing, songs here and there. And so I started streaming on Twitch and I had no idea how the platform worked. I didn't know how to raid people. I didn't know how to network on that platform. I didn't know how it worked. And then, and so I had a streamer, a fellow streamer who also streamed music, watched my stream one night and said, hey, you're really awesome. Like, let me help you figure this out. And I was like, okay. And so he brought a big amount of people onto my stream, like more than I'd ever had, like 70 people. And I was like, that's insane. That's insane. That's more than I'd have watched me in a bar. That's crazy. And so and so then I just started growing from there. I learned how the platform worked. I learned how to talk to other streamers and kind of network and raid them and they'd raid me. And over time it grew from, 5 people watching me at a time to 10. And then it was 20 and then it was 30 and then it was 40 people and then it was 50. And it just kind of started growing really nicely. And I kind of hate social media. I really do. I don't like being on there. But I loved live streaming because it was so organic. It's like talking to people in a bar, but you don't have creepy people trying to hit on you when you're playing in the bar. Like that's happened way too many times.
Block them. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't. It's great.
And so it started getting really successful, and I started, people would give me money to just play songs. And one night I made $2,000 just out of people's generosity, and I was like, we should just have the crowd fund out of here. Like, what would happen? And so we launched the crowd fund and I got a bunch of stream friends together. I was like, hey, we're doing this event. Like, come, feel free to send your raiders on over to us when you're done streaming. Like, I'm doing this. And we got 400 people to watch, which was crazy. And after that, I mean, I never have that much normally anymore, but that night it was insane. But still, it was crazy. And that's way more that I played in front of in real life. And so we had 60 days because it was a Kickstarter. So you had 60 days to raise X amount of money. And so by day 54, we had passed our goal.
Nice. Which was, stretch goals? Any stretch goals?
Yes. Yeah, we had a little bit of some stretch goals. So we kept making money afterward. And then anytime I made money after the goal was over, I just kept channeling it into my little account. And then, and then we were able to use all those funds to finally get in the studio. But I still stream on Twitch. Like, I took a break these last week or so, but I usually stream like 3 times a week and I love it.
Well, you're going to have to educate me because I guess this is maybe one of yours. I don't know if it's one of yours or mine. Albatross 21 just popped in. Yep.
Sorry, I know him.
You know him? So there's Albatross 21. It's a sketch. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean something to you?
Yes. So
can you tell me what that means? Am I allowed to hear that?
Yes. So sketch. Okay. So the guy who convinced me to start streaming on Twitch is another streamer named Sketch Addict RML. And he was also on another big stream called Grub Truckers, which is essentially this food truck. This is wild.
That's all
It's a food truck in Moscow, Idaho, which is where I went to college. And they serve food truck food to drunk people all night. It's mac and cheese food truck. And so they live stream it. And so people all around the world, they're actually partnered on Twitch. People all around the world will pay tons of money to like buy food for these drunk college students. It's wild. Yeah, it's super weird. Great. It's crazy. It's like a weird reality TV show. So he was on that. And then he also was an artist and painted and live streamed his own paintings. And so he convinced me to start streaming on Twitch. And so his name is Sketch Addict RML. And he's also a mod on my stream. He's also eventually became the guy I started dating. But so he's Sketch. So, yeah, it's kind of a weird
sketch.
Yeah.
I guess we got to do that. This is like a once an episode thing, and you just get to deal with this. Okay. Nathan sucks at fantasy football. I whooped his ass again this year. He just gets very upset. More people follow. Yes, absolutely, Nathan. 400 people listen to her, but now they're all listening to me from listening to her, and they'll be over here. and that's still more people than ever wanna hear you. Love you, Nate. But Nate's
Oh.
great. I love Nate. Nate's one of my top dogs. He gets amazing guests for me. We had, the only all they're called Unearthing the Supernatural. They're an all Native American, um, sci-fi or not sci-fi, but a paranormal team.
That's so
Amazing.
cool.
They're so cool. They're and great guys. Like, you're talking to them, and they're like, they're deep in the game. Like, they're deep in the
Oh,
game.
that's
Uh,
wild.
and Patrick, nowadays, you can record at home, good mic. Yeah, like, God,
Yeah,
I was looking at a new audio, techniques headphones,
yeah.
and I'm like, "Yeah," and I'm just thinking to myself, like, never in my life would I have thought, like, "Yeah, these drop a buck and a half on a set of headphones. That makes perfect sense to me." Uh, Lulu's loving your story and mac
Aw,
and
thanks.
cheese for drunks. You're getting a lot of yep, Albatross telling yep, that's the same story,
So
Albatross. Um, yes, Nate, you have a huge following in the prison community.
yeah.
He I'm not gonna even get into it. This is a good girl. I'm not getting into it with you today, Nate. But, but th so everything happens, the crowdfunding happens, the album gets out. How long like, you hear these stories about albums all the
Yeah,
time where it's like, if you look into the band Yes, like, an album
mhm.
takes, like, 35 years to make one album because they're constantly going back, and then you mentioned Foo Fighters or bands like that, it's like, yeah, we went to a house in the woods and, within, like, a week and a half, we recorded everything, and,
Yeah,
it's the greatest album ever been produced. So
yeah.
what was because I have a lot of music people in my life, I've known a lot of music people. What is your process in all this, in making your first album? What was that like?
So I'll kind of divide it up into phases. So the first part obviously is that songwriting phase where you're just writing lyrics, you're playing by yourself mostly or accompanying yourself and just sharing it out into the world. And so for me, that process was very familiar. It's something I've been writing songs since I was 13. So it's just something I had always done. And so to me, songwriting was a very private process. I didn't really play with bands very often, if at all. And mainly I wrote the lyrics myself. I came up with my own accompaniment and it was just my thing. It's very private. It's a very solitary experience. And then, I just share them with people. And so for me, it's most songs kind of like take a month for me. Usually it's like I'll have an idea, I'll let the idea kind of marinate and form into this thing. And then usually by the end of a month, sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 6, who knows? But usually once a month I have a song. I'm like, okay, I like this. I could share this and play it in front of people and see what it is. So that was kind of the first part of the process was, that. And then, the second part was getting into the studio and working with these musicians, which was something I had not ever really done before. And so that process was just, I definitely felt intimidated. I was in front of some really awesome musicians who had a ton of experience recording. They had played on other people's albums before. And this was my first time ever doing anything. And so I got in the studio feeling really intimidated. But for me, I had my accompaniment and my lyrics, and I had a somewhat idea of the form of the song, and that was it. And so for me, I've always been kind of pretty collaborative, and I kind of feel like, people work best when you just let them work their magic. And so I was like, here's my idea for a song. Here's kind of what I want it to sound like. Here's kind of what I envision. Now just do something with it. Let's just jam. And so the first day
Do
was
what
just
you
like a
wanna do.
jam session of just playing these songs over and over. And so I kind of just let the musicians kind of just go with whatever they wanted. And if there was anything I really didn't like, I'd be like, hey, can you try something else? But everyone it was weird how, with as little as I knew about what the accompaniments and arrangements were going to be, how quickly we kind of formed this direction. And so this album very quickly took this like neo retro rock,
I love
indie
it.
rock direction. And it's really eclectic. And so each song kind of became its own little weird thing. And I was like, I don't know how these are going to fit, but we're just going to figure it out. And so in the studio, it was cool because it was very much, you kind of enter a flow state after a while. And so when we were there, it was we had 2 weeks to be in the studio. So the first 2 days are rehearsal. There's a week of tracking and then a week of mixing, which is pretty tight. But it was 12-hour days. And so I'd spend 12 hours in the studio, wake up at 9, get in the studio by 10, leave by 10 p.m. You have an hour for lunch and an hour for dinner.
Now, who sets that schedule? Is it the producers like, this is the schedule, this is what's going to happen, shit's about to get real?
Yeah. And so, and I knew going into it, and we were pretty flexible too. There's a lot of times to kind of talk as a band and talk as far as what we wanted. And I had never met any of these people before. So a lot of it was kind of getting to know people. But after a while, we kind of just entered this flow state. And after those first 2 days, we had a really solid idea of what parts were going to be. So then we tracked the drums for 2 days and all played together. And then each instrument went individually. So it was bass was next. We did the other lead guitarist played his parts, and then I played my own rhythm parts. And then vocals was 2 days. And then, and I think recording vocals was the thing I got most perfectionistic about, just because, I don't know, when people hear your voice, that's you. And so for me, and because lyrics are so important to me, and because songs are very much a story to me, recording those lyrics were definitely something I took really seriously and got a little, and the whole first part of the session was super smooth, very much a flow state. And then that last day and it was actually on Siren, there's this last day where I couldn't hit a certain note, and it drove me insane because everything else seemed to really come very easily. And then it was that one note, I just couldn't hit it. It was in a weird break in my voice. And yeah, we ended it early on that day. I was like, I'm sorry, I don't want to be a diva. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Like, we got to stop. I've been here for like 8 hours. Like maybe we can try mixing and putting some stuff together. And then I practiced it all night and stressed about it. And then the next day I was able to hit it finally. But yeah, that's kind of.
Can you do the note now? Can you do it now?
No.
Be that guy. Can you do it for me now? Do it now. That's just so. I mean, so this whole process, it's interesting to me. As I mentioned it, Nate, no one's going in the woods with you. No one wants to go in the woods with you, Nate. Get over it. My buddy Pat told you he was into heavier stuff. Black Sabbath's first album, he said, took a week to record. Like, that's just like the entire music process to me is pretty impressive. So you get the album done, it's recorded. It's a thing. What was it like the first time? Because you've played live. You've played in front of people, but this whole album is, and I'm going to tell you folks, go look up Taryn Hadfield, Facebook, IG, on Twitch. It's Taryn_Seattle. That's a great story. Make sure you're going and looking her up. But the first time you handle this album to somebody and say, hey, listen to my heart, because you write this. This is you.
Yeah.
And I just listened to, and I have to tell you, my wife thought she looked like Adele. My wife was like, she looks like Adele. Yeah, the lay down picture with your eyes and everything. She's like, she looks like Adele.
I see that.
But the first time you hand this to somebody, and this is the way I feel about this, like every time somebody listens to my show, I'm like, you're listening to my thoughts. You're hearing my brain. You're hearing how I feel about things. So the first time you handed somebody that album and said, here, listen to this. What was, and it wasn't mom and dad who's always going to be like, oh, it's so great, sweetheart. It's amazing. We love it. It's great. What was that like the first time you handed it to a stranger and said, this is me?
Yeah. I'm trying to think, because I haven't handed it out to too many strangers yet, just because it's not officially released yet. But I remember, I think the person I was most scared to hear the songs was my boyfriend, just because I knew he was very, very honest. And I knew that if he didn't like it, I was going to know he didn't like it. And so I remember it was really nerve-wracking, because I was thinking, this is me. And if they're not totally impressed or just blown away, like, I feel like that's going to be a weird hit to my own ego. And so, but it was really cool. And it was mainly like my best friend, Sam, who is super, super honest. And then also my boyfriend as well. And I remember just being really, really nervous. And then when they looked over at me and just started talking about the music and diving into, oh, I loved what you did here, or this was really interesting, or this makes sense because of this song lyric. It just, I don't know. It made me happy because I could see them dissecting it. And to me, that's what I wanted people to do. Like, I wanted them to hash it out. I didn't want them to be like, oh, this is great. Like, I wanted them to dissect like what it meant. And I just released a single. It's called Not Sorry. And because of the way that digital platforms work, essentially, it's kind of confusing, but basically the first song in the album is something that, depending on if it's Apple or Amazon, you can listen to the first song until it officially drops and you can hear the rest of it. And so people on my Twitch stream started listening to Not Sorry. And these are people I just know via the internet, and they just hang out with me on my stream. So they're kind of friends, but they're kind of not. Like, they're not obligated to be super nice to me. Yeah,
they're the honest people in your life. They're the real honest people in your life.
They're the real honest people. And so it was really cool to hear, especially back from my mods on my stream, or, just people who have listened to me and just watched me stream for a long time, just talking about, the quality of the recording was one thing that they really hit on, like that it sounded like it was recorded in a studio. It sounded like this wasn't something I did at home, which was definitely something, like, I know a lot of musicians record at home now and they can create incredible things. I just know I am never going to be as good as, the people at Studio X or the people at this studio. Like, it'll take me years because my specialty is chords, melodies, and riffs. That's it. And so, you can't be good at everything. And so to me, hearing that, yeah, I made a really good investment with the people I worked with was a huge validation, just because that money was, and raising that funds was a huge hurdle. And, anytime you make an investment as a business person, you're like, hopefully this is a good investment. Like, you don't know until the project is done. And so to hear back about the quality was one thing I was worried about. And then the other thing was, and it was nice to hear that compliment. The other thing too was, people would tell me like, yeah, I listen to it on my gym when I work out. And that was my favorite thing, because I was like, that's how I listen to music. Like, to me, my music is my soundtrack to my life. Like, I constantly have music playing, if I'm working out, if I'm on a drive, if I'm walking and getting groceries. And to me, the fact that someone was living their life with my song in the background, I was like, okay, it's like a soundtrack and you like it and you wanted to work out to it. And that's the song you picked. Like,
I told you, it's at the end of some movie where the girl has been in love with the boy and he's not giving her enough attention. And finally she realizes that she doesn't need him. And she drives up the coastal highway in the convertible 66 Thunderbird. I've got the whole fucking thing figured out. As she's going up the road, as it's going up the road, the key to it all, though, as she's going up the road, it has to be the silk scarf getting tossed out. Yeah. That's important. That is important in this whole thing. And you may have to teach me some Twitch action, because you're getting a lot of good attention here. Lulu had a great question here. How did you overcome that block of not hitting the note and actually hit it? What was that process for you?
Yeah, totally. So that's a great question. That night I definitely took a break. I had to separate myself away from it, because I knew if I was just going to keep hammering it, it was just never going to happen. And I was just going to lose my voice. So I went home and I rested. I drank lots of tea. And then, I had my guitar in my hotel room that I was staying. So I played the riff over and over just so I could almost internalize it. And so that was, so then just, repetitions. And then the next morning I, stood in the shower and just let the steam kind of breathe into my lungs and just tried hitting it. And the main thing that I'm realizing about singing is just that it really is a lot of breath, and it's a lot of confidence. And if you have good breath and you have good confidence, you can hit a lot of stuff. And so for me, I had to go back to the basics of, okay, breathe really deeply, use all the muscles in your abdomen to breathe in, and just hitting it confidently and believing that I could hit the note, that I had the ability. It's just I hadn't done it yet. And so, so it was a lot of that, but it was getting back to the basics of breathing, and then also just believing, okay, I can hit this note. I've done it before. At some point in my life, I've hit this individual note. I can hit it again. And then I got in the studio, and the first take we did, I was like, yes, we did it. Like, We did it a couple times more just to have extras.
Just to be sure the shit was there, but
Yeah,
you
it was there. I was like,
Albatross is looking for their I guess the mailman or UPS must have their copy.
Yes. So it's coming. I'm gonna probably have to text my producer and ask him when the CDs are supposed to arrive, because we sent a box out of all the signed ones to all the pre-orders people. And so I don't know. Shipping has been weird lately.
Oh, shipping for everything is weird right now.
Yeah. So I'm just like, hopefully I know it's coming. Like, so
May Martin jumped on here. I guess May's another one of your followers. Taryn is inspiring as always. I like the little green hair character they're putting up there. Getting some Happy New Year's. I'm going to tell you right now, this is the most Twitch people I've ever had on. I've been trying to get the whole Twitch. So I was like you. My son, who's now 18, probably back in 2019 or something like that, was like, I want to be big on Twitch. And he's telling me about this, and he's probably about 16, 17 at the time. And I'm like, the hell's a Twitch, son? Like,
yeah, right?
Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he explained the whole thing to me. And as I got into the podcasting, Dibs, who does a lot of my media, was like, you got to start streaming this on Twitch. And I'm like, bro, that's a video game platform. He's like, no, it's not. He's like, it's completely, it's a whole nother thing. You can really get into it. So, and it's funny, you were talking about somebody brought stuff. So my kids educate me on this shit all the time, where I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, kid. So my 12-year-old was like, yeah, Dad, let me tell you this funny story. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be long. You just got to prepare for it. It's a 12-year-old. But he was telling me what you told me about, somehow where you can raid other people's Twitches. Like, I don't know what that is.
Yep.
What is a raiding? Maybe you can explain it to me in a way that I'll understand. What is raiding a Twitch?
Totally. So when you're streaming on Twitch, right, you're looking at, you're looking at your screen, you're watching someone's video, there's a chat on the side, right? And so you have X amount of viewers watching you on that platform. So at the end of your stream, when you're done, you can hit this special command, and it's /raid. And then you put in whatever username of someone else who's also streaming. And then you can send all those viewers over immediately to their stream. And that's when you end your stream. So you want to still keep it going until they're there. And then once they're there, it's basically a pay it forward thing, which I think is what's really cool about the platform, is it promotes people to interact in a way that, like, you're paying it forward, you're being kind, you're sending love to other people. And so essentially, you send all those raiders over to someone else. And so what happens is that when someone sees that, and they'll see on their end, like, oh my gosh, this person sent 50 viewers from their stream. Thank you so much. And so you immediately get a shout out, immediately get a little bit of a promotion, a little bit of a nudge. And then if streamers are really awesome, they'll look you up, or they'll look up your profile, or maybe they'll say something kind about you if you've rated before, or even just ask you how your stream was or what you do. And then that's another opportunity for another plug. And especially in music. Yeah. And then especially on music. So when I raid people, I'll send my viewers to someone else's stream, and it's usually a music streamer. And sometimes they're bigger than me. Sometimes they're smaller than me. It kind of just depends on how our night's going and who seems to be having a fun time. And so I'll talk to that streamer once I'm done and just chat with them. And usually I'll request a song, just because if you request a song, usually to music streamers, and you're a raider, they'll bump your song requests up to the top of the queue. And so then you'll get to hear a song that you want to hear. And that's another thing, because then if you request a song and you stick around, that's another opportunity for the person at the end to say, hey, thank you so much for bringing your people, blah, blah, blah. And they'll usually say, like, go follow Taryn, whoever. And so it's this cool cross-promotional thing. And then the same thing happens when, people send raiders to your stream. Those are all new people who've never seen you before. And that's an opportunity for you to get to know them, welcome them in, maybe play your best song, talk to them. It's easily the best way to grow. It's the fastest and, coolest way to really build a following. Yeah.
And I'm looking over here. May Martin, happiest New Year to all of us here at the Above the Bar podcast. Thank you for podcasting, having Taryn with you today. Much positive vibes as always. Albatross 21 is over here. That's how most of us found Taryn. I came in with 50 others from Dan Navarro's Twitch stream in late September 2020, and have yet to leave. That's awesome. May again. It's also, yep, we're live on YouTube, May. Absolutely. And then May jumped on our YouTube. Thank you, May. It's just it's amazing. So for somebody, and this is kind of something interesting here. You said it earlier on in the show. You don't like social media.
No.
But guess what? It likes
It's
you. It likes you. You may not like the shit and be like, so wait a sec. We're gonna go full circle here. You're the one who is the unrequited love that the internet has found you and has fallen in love with you, but you're shunning the internet away. Maybe the internet is gonna have to start singing Pixie Dream Girl here, Manic Pixie Dream Girl. I think the internet's next on the list. What do you think?
Possibly. I mean, and I think the thing is too, like the reason I didn't like social media is mainly just because, everyone's met a dumb influencer on Instagram, right? Like people who believe that their ideas are the best in the world and they look like a model in everything they do. And so I think for me, and especially with everything that's happened on Facebook, with our boy Zuck and all the things he's gotten into, like I just, a lot of platforms really, they used to be, and even YouTube used to be a place of connection and for people to connect organically, and people could get found and people could grow followers. And now it's very much a pay to play, and that happens with every social media. You got to pay, advertise to win the game. And it's so hard, or you spend hours and hours trying to get found. But the thing about Twitch is it's in this really sweet spot now where it's like, it's not oversaturated by people. And the way that the platform is set up is where like people can pay it forward. And so I think that's the thing I really like about it, is it's not like the other things that I usually hate about social media. So I think I've really grown to love the live streaming thing, and I've really grown to love the people I've met that way. And I never imagined having the kind of community I've had outside of Twitch. Like a year ago, I would never have thought that I'd have this many people like hanging out with me 3 times a week to listen to me play music in my house. It's weird. And, part of that's pandemic. Part of it's also just technology's gotten better, but
technology's way better. We've had some stuff on about networking and business related stuff. And I will tell you right now, I was never, you were never going to get me to go to a networking event maybe once every couple of months, just because I'm not leaving work an hour early to go to your thing, to sit there with people who are going to be like, hey, do you need insurance? How's your business going? I was never going to do it.
No.
But then networking through Zoom and stuff became a thing, and it's very similar idea here. Pat wants to know, are we on Spotify yet?
Not yet. I am on Apple and Amazon. I will be on Spotify. It's literally going to be any day. I keep checking if it's up yet, and it's not. But basically, we're waiting on the platform, essentially, at this point.
Pat, I got all the tracks, all them. We were listening to them earlier. I got all that shit, man. May says, love all of Taryn's songs. It comes from the heart and truly embraces and just can relate with the story behind it. You're absolutely right, May. So we're talking about songs. We're talking about playing in your living room. The couch is the background. Where can we find you live next, though? And don't tell me a coffee house in Seattle, because I can't make it there.
No. So in terms of online gigs, so my next stream is going to be January 5th. That's a Wednesday. And we're starting to toy with Wednesdays, because usually I did Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and we might move Thursdays to Wednesdays or Fridays. So we're going to test a few things out. But this Wednesday, so it'll be this next Wednesday, it'll be 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So that's 7:30 Mountain, 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern.
Yeah, that's good. So you're past my time at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Wednesdays is when we normally record, except for Saturday music.
Yeah.
So we got to push that shit. I mean, I can't compete with you. Taryn, I can't compete with you.
Oh, no.
I mean, come on now. So any tour dates, though? Anything coming up where we're talking tours?
No, not yet. We kind of just need to see how this goes, because like tours are expensive. And like, yeah, but I'm hoping, fingers crossed, I really, really want to play Tree Fort Music Fest in Boise. Not this year, but the
How is
next year.
that? What is
It
that?
is like, it's crazy. So it's this music fest, and it's actually not that small, but it's hundreds of artists. It's usually indie rock types, and it's all throughout, it's like several venues throughout Boise, like downtown. So there's cool restaurants and cool bars, and people come in. I think there's a couple thousand people that go every year. So if I could do that, that'd be awesome.
Tree Fort Music Festival in Boise.
Yes. And it would probably be 2023 because I couldn't do this year because I didn't have anything yet. So
Well, my goal will hopefully, I would love to see you at either SPAC, which is Saratoga Performing Arts Center, or the
oh,
Egg, or the Egg.
okay. The
If you-
egg.
The Egg to me, and I'll tell you, been to a lot of music venues, traveled, I've seen all kinds of artists, been backstage at James Brown. I love music, all of it.
Yeah.
You got like all kinds of folks jumping on here. We have
Primo!
Primo is jumping on. What's all this? That Primo, we are getting educated. We're educating the world today on Taryn. You know, SPAC would be awesome. I'm telling you, Albatross, SPAC would be amazing. SPAC is great because you can get in on the Jazz Fest or something like that through. They have a amazing Jazz Fest. I buy fedoras. I don't give a shit, and I'm not a hipster. But you know, look at you, like you're a baller here on this Twitch deal.
Thank you. Thank
You're,
you.
you're like real deal. But but yeah, the Egg, I got to tell you, if the Egg in Albany, New York is the most amazing music venue I've ever been to.
That'd be cool.
It's all wood inside, and like the seating's real super steeped so that there is no such thing as a bad seat. Pat says you can look, Pat, it is only warm in Minnesota from July 1st to July 5th, and then it snows again.
Cool.
Nobody. Ugh. No, but he says Minneapolis has a great indie music festival every year. The First Avenue Club, made famous by Prince, because Prince is from that area, which is so odd to me. Like
That is odd. I would not expect that.
yeah, he's from that area. It's so crazy, and my seat's got like the hydraulics, and the sumbitch keeps moving on me, and it keeps sinking. But so this is amazing. Like I just, and you've got a lot of love here. Yeah, I'm from. You went to RPI. Look at that. Albatross went to RPI a couple years back. Absolutely, Albatross. You and I can talk about like some amazing food on 15th Street there by RPI, Red and Blue, which is like amazing, great. Like Red and Blue is one of these Chinese restaurants that has like the everybody menu, and then you flip to the back of it, and it's like says real Szechuan, and it's like grilled frog hearts and like legit Szechuan food. The place is unreal, but like diagonal away from it is a Turkish restaurant that does like legit Turkish. And at the end of the block is this place called Muza. And Muza is like a legit Polish restaurant that does like the amazing borscht.
Oh. Borscht is so good.
Oh, like the borscht at this place is, see, you can tell you're from the Midwest because that's such a look at this. Well, here you go, Primo. I'll throw another one at you, Primo. I used to work out of Hatboro Horsham. I was the Marine recruiter for that area and ran that station off of Hatboro Road in Philly, North Philly, Bucks and Montgomery. I know so people always say this, we're the best. They're like, oh, the best cheesesteak in Philadelphia. What neighborhood did you live in? That is the best cheesesteak. Nobody in Philadelphia eats Pat and Gino's. Nobody. Nobody. That's one of those ones. Look at that. He lives around in Bucks County. I used to live in Telford, right on the Montgomery County side, on the other side of Bucks. Look at this. See, Taryn, I'm taking all your names. I'm taking them all. No, they're not happy. They don't want to hear. They don't want to hear this silky sound. I was in concert choir though. I was in concert choir in high school.
Oh,
I was a baritone. Believe that shit.
I can believe that.
A lot of Phantom of the Opera was sang through these pipes.
Nice.
I've seen it live 3 times.
Very
So
cool.
Went to elementary school in Cherry Hill in Jersey.
Very cool.
See, look at this. Like you're getting some behind the scenes on some of your fans here.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. We like to on my stream we like to talk a lot. So I'll play a song and then everyone will just talk for however long. People ask questions or I'll ask people questions. It's a lot of fun because it's not
I
like
love it.
playing in a bar where people clap and talk over you and then that's kind of it. It's nice because it's so interactive, which has been really fun. So,
And that was what I
that's
was
my
gonna
favorite thing.
that was what I was gonna ask here is, so when you're doing that, and you kinda mentioned this before, at the biker bar, the Star Bar, where people get stabbed, which is so great. Not really, but
Wild.
it's a wild ass place. I just think of, the, Blues Brothers, and but, there you said it, I played a song and finally I knew I was doing well because the audience quieted down.
Yes.
In your home, the audience is always quiet. So,
Yep.
how do you judge? Because as I'm watching, because I don't know a ton about Twitch, you know,
Yeah.
May put up a lot of like emoji symbols and things like that. And I
Yeah.
don't know what all that means, but how do you judge through those social media platforms if you
Yeah.
like this song's a hitter or this is a shitter?
I mean, it's kind of hard to tell. I think usually, there's a couple ways to kind of judge how well I'm doing. I mean, obviously, there's the obvious metric of like how many people are watching, and that's how many people are watching and how many people stay. That's usually a big thing. If I can get people to stay, it's kind of like the same thing in a bar. If you get people to stay and just keep buying drinks, like
You're doing
you're doing well. But anything that gets people talking or gets people engaged, I know means that they're connecting to the song, especially when they're talking about the song. So I knew instantly. I think that's the reason why I figured out so quickly that Manic Pixie Dream Girl was definitely going to be the title track. Was oh bye Primo, was that people started talking about it and people were sharing stories, and especially when I shared the story behind the song, people would share their own stories about why they related to the song or why they and I even got private messages from some people saying like, I've been through X, Y, and Z, and that totally reminded me of it. And thank you for writing. And I've had that with a couple songs, like especially with Old Wounds. That also happened as well. A lot of people connecting to this idea of um, just taking a long time to heal and how healing's messy. And so I think for people, it's anytime I can get people to have a conversation with me and get them to connect to their own life, I know that it's a good song. Because that's
there.
what you do. Like when you write a good song, you want people to see themselves, not, oh, this girl is so great. Like I want them to see their own stories in the song.
I told you you're a legit star. You are, and folks, again, we're gonna say it one more time here. Taryn, Taryn. Let me put. I don't know why. Like you've had me so.
Oh no.
What the hell just happened?
I was so panicked.
What the hell happened just now? Like that was the weirdest
Right.
thing. I
It
lost
happens
all
all the time.
the Twitch messages, but everybody's still here, folks. I have no idea what just happened. Now that was just the most random thing. But see, this is proof of Taryn is a real star. She held this shit over. Taryn took look, Primo. Taryn took over. Like next thing I know, my shit just dropped out. I went to go put a banner up for her, and the live stream just dropped right out because you've had me so in. Like you're very engaging, folks.
Thank you.
Again, check out her IG and her Facebook is Taryn, Taryn Hadfield, and that's Hadfield, not hat,
Yes.
but had. And then Twitch is Taryn_Seattle. All your Twitch people, I thank every one of them for showing up. I've never, like, I've been trying to get this Twitch thing moving.
Yep.
He went to raid Sashi Boom. I don't know who that is, but sure, we went. Fuck them if they can't take a joke. We'll raid them. I did 20 years in the Marine Corps. Raid means absolutely a different thing to me than what it does, I think, on there. But we'll go with that shit. So you got to get to the West Coast or East Coast. Excuse me. You're already on the left.
Yes.
We got to get you over here on the East Coast.
Yeah.
We got to get you're playing. I'm telling you, like, I feel like we could sit here and I could talk to you all night long. It's just so engaging. You're
Thank you.
such an engaging person. Your music is amazing. I want to play. I never do this. I never. I'm playing your clip one more time, only because I
Okay.
feel it needs to be played. I never do this.
Guess you better settle down and find yourself a nice girl. Sound like your new babe, Manic Pixie Dream Girl. No more, no more, no more. Sorry that I complicated your simple world. Sometimes simple.
Love it. Love every bit of that. May, thank you so much. I really, God, again, like I said, we could keep the bar open all night. I wish you were here local. I would love to listen to you play. When,
Oh, thank you.
as soon as you get on this coast, and look, I mean, your people are real deal. I mean, they're on it. Albatross, all she has to do is advertise, and we'll follow. When the album catches on, hopefully she'll come out and do some East Coast radio spots. Absolutely.
That'd be
Um,
fun.
oh God, Nate, 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 you're like those people. I use you as the Howard Stern analogy. Howard Stern used to say the people that loved him listened for like 20 minutes. The people who hated him listened for 4 hours. Nate wants to date me. I can't do it. Look at this.
Oh, he's
Uh,
upset.
he is
Goomba.
Goomba. Heck, that's the final version of Manic Pixie Dream Girl. That's so good. That took me out of a lurk. Pat says you got a Jewel vibe. I could see that.
Oh,
Would you like to hear my
I
Jewel
can
story?
see it.
Can I tell you my Jewel
I
story?
love.
Can I tell you my
Yeah.
Jewel story? You'll hate. You might. You might call me a douche afterwards, but that's okay.
Oh no.
So, I was in the Marine Corps, New River Air Station.
Mhm.
It's it's a Marine Corps aviation base. A lot of people don't realize that Marine Corps got the 6th largest aviation in the world. We're huge aviation in the Marine Corps. People
Wait,
don't
so
think
not the Air Force? I'm
the Air Force
confused.
the U.S. Air Force is the number 1, but the
Okay,
Marine Corps is the 6th largest in the world.
that makes sense. Okay.
So we're on this base, and I'm with a buddy of mine, and they're like, "Yeah, Jules playing," and I don't even remember who the band that opened for her was. It was like Seven Mary 3 or somebody like that. That was real big at the time,
Yeah.
but it's like hot. This is North Carolina. Have you ever been to North Carolina?
I've the most only place I've been into on the East Coast is Orlando, Florida, and New York City. That's it.
Okay. To explain North Carolina hot, go in your bathroom, turn only the hot water on, and then go put all your clothes on. And that's
Ew.
like North Carolina hot, but I love it. I
Ooh.
love it. Yeah. Albatross, we do have a few helicopters. I did avionics on 53s.
Oh,
So we're all out there, and it's this hot day,
yeah.
stupid hot, and we're jamming out. And this is like early Jewel. This wasn't
Yeah.
like Jewel is now a model and doing other TV shows, Jewel. This is like very Alaska Jewel.
Yeah.
And she's out there, and I'll never forget this. It's so hot, but we're all like kind of crowding the stage. And for
Mhm.
whatever reason, parents decided to bring their children to this, and they're caught up in the crowd. And you hear
Mhm.
Jewel go, "Excuse me, excuse me."
Oh no.
And then all of a sudden you hear Jewel go, "Back the fuck up."
No.
We're all like a bunch of asshole Marines. We're like, yeah, scream it, yeah.
Sorry about the kids.
She walked off the stage on us.
Oh my god.
She walked off the stage, and like, I don't know if it was her manager or who the person was, came out and was like, "Look, if you guys want to see this show continue, you got to
Yeah.
back up." And we all kind of finally did, but it was like the greatest thing to watch a bunch of Marines make Jewel cuss. It was like that's. I was like,
She
20
seems so sweet. Like she seems so polite. Like
oh, we're a bunch of 21 to 22-year-old asshats that looking back at it now, I'm thinking to myself, like, I would have looked at me and been like, "What are you doing, jerk? Like, what are
yeah.
you doing? Like, you have no
I mean,
business."
that's kind of what you have to do when you're especially when you're a female performer and you're just performing in front of dudes. Like you gotta be sometimes you have to be mean. Like I've had to be mean with people and I hate doing it, but I'm like, I can't do this right now with you being like
You're international. May's in the Philippines. May,
Yeah.
give me your lumpia recipe, May. You have no idea how much I love lumpia. You have
Lumpia.
do you know what lumpia is?
I think I've heard of it. Isn't it a fish thing?
No. It's
No.
like the
Okay.
Philippine version of a spring roll, but I
What?
promise you, it's 1,000 times better.
Really?
Philippine like, the Philippine cooking doesn't get
Mhm.
enough love in America. Their food is off the chain good, and it's all got, like it's one of those kind of foods that when you sit down and we're way off the fucking left, folks. If you're still
That's
hanging
okay. I talk about food on my stream so
I'm
much. We had a
I'm
5-minute conversation about cheese the other night. It's
I'm with
ridiculous.
you. I'm so with you, but, like, Philippine food, every dish I've ever had because a lot of there used to be a Navy base there in the Philippines. It's closed
Yeah.
now, but, a lot of service members from my generation were married to Philippine, women. They knew so we had a lot of these dishes
Yeah.
around, and every meal just tastes like mom's home cooking. It wasn't
Mhm.
my mom's home cooking because my mom
Oh, yeah.
originally from Tennessee.
Yeah.
You knew it was somebody's mom's home cooking.
Mm.
Um, Albatross, his dad was a Navy guy. Yeah, the Navy version of the helicopter I worked on was the MH-53. Uh, Nate, I love our seafood. Maryland seafood will change. But see, you're in Seattle. I wanna try so bad. I wanna try gooey duck.
Ooh.
Have you had it?
I would never do it. It
Really?
weirds me out way too much. I can't. I can't.
Why?
I'm really weird with seafood. I used to be a really picky eater when I was young, but I was born to a family of foodies, so they ate everything. And so I had to learn how to eat everything. And so but seafood's still one of those food groups where I'm really iffy. I kind of pick and choose. Like I love halibut, I love cod, I love
Love
shrimp,
fish.
scallops. I've had lobster and I'm okay with it. Most whitefish I can usually do. But yeah,
Best white
gooey duck's one of those things like no.
the best whitefish you will ever have, and you'll never be able to buy it in a store, is called
Mhm.
triggerfish. It's
Mm,
They have it off the coast of the Carolinas, if you ever go
okay.
fishing out there, and they're big fish, but they're very, very thin, so you get a thin fillet off the side of them. The
Oh,
whitest fish you'll ever have, and they call them
yeah.
triggerfish. You ever seen that fish that, like, spits to shoot bugs off a land? You know the
Yeah,
ones they look like
yeah,
that, they have a big spine on their back that you couldn't push it down if it meant your life, but you could move some other things and it'll go down, but that's what they do, and they're always around shipwrecks, called a
yeah.
triggerfish. Unbelievable. Um, Albatross used to live in QB Point. May, absolutely, sweetheart. You are a gem. Thank you so
She's
much.
so sweet. She's
And
so
Nate,
sweet on
Maryland blue
streams.
crabs are it's a game changer. When you get somebody who knows how to take care of Maryland blue crabs, it
Yeah.
is a but they can get expensive. And
So are
it's
you
so
from Maryland? Is that where you're streaming from
I
right
grew up
now?
in Baltimore. I grew up in Baltimore.
Okay,
So that's why you get
okay.
a lot of Maryland love out of here, and you're gonna have people following you from that area. I'm in Albany. This is where
Okay,
I retired out of the Marine Corps, was in Albany. So I stayed in
gotcha.
this area, which is so different. Like, people are like, "Oh, you're in New York. How long does it take you to get to the city?" 2.5 hours by train. I'm nowhere near New York City. Oh,
Wild.
it's exactly. So it's like it's like you being in Idaho. You're in
Yeah.
Boise, which is the major city. I don't know anything else in Idaho. To me, everything is like 10 minutes outside of Idaho. I don't know. Um, you know,
Wild.
it it means nothing, but that's New York is that way. People are like, "Oh, you live in Syracuse? Like, you're right by the city, right?" No, Syracuse is about 4 hours from New York City. It's a huge state. It's a monstrous state, and it's very different. Um,
Yeah,
I will I will tell you though, you come out here, that's all about tiny hot dogs.
tiny hot dogs.
They have this thing, and I tell everybody this all the time. Their thing is, and it's not cocktail wieners.
I was
Um,
gonna say, would it be yeah, okay.
no, they're like actual frankfurters, and they have little buns for them, and like
What?
a special chili sauce, the whole 9 yards. Yeah.
That's so
Uh,
weird.
yeah, see, like, this is a perfect example. So, where Nate lives out on the western side of Maryland, he mentions Deep Creek Lake. Deep
Mhm.
Creek Lake is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's 4 hours from Baltimore and 30 minutes from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
It's nowhere near. So,
Yeah.
you and I so I got my new best friend. No, I'm kidding. Uh, I'm adopting her as another daughter because she is the same age as my daughter, so you're getting
Oh,
adopted. So when you come to the East Coast and you need a
okay.
home cooked meal and you're, like, tired of eating road food, we have almost 3 acres, so you can pull the bus in. Yeah,
Okay.
we have almost 3 acres, so you can pull the bus in, we'll feed the roadies, we smoke
Very
I
cool.
do a lot of smoke cooking out here, it's we'll
Nice.
take care of all of my wife will look at me like I have 15 heads, like, "Why are all these people in our yard?" Like, "It's the
What
show,
are you
babe.
doing?
We're gonna do a live concert right here from the show." It's all oh, Nick. So, we know it's gonna come, we know you're gonna
Yep.
blow up, all of our people are gonna support you. Um
Aw.
I want you to make sure you share to the Above the Bar podcast page on Facebook, Instagram. Always tag us. Let us know where you're going to be so we can make sure our people know where they can
Always.
find you at. Um, we know you're getting this album up and running. Do we know when is the official launch date hit yet? I know I didn't even ask
So
that.
so the official date is January 22nd, which is now 21 days away, which now I'm panicking because I have a lot of stuff I need to do before then.
Now I
So
remember.
I took a major break during the holidays and I was like, that's a January Taryn problem. But now it is January and now I have a problem. So,
Oh no.
oh no.
Oh no. Well, we're gonna support you. We're gonna look for it. Um, Folks, if you're looking, reach out to me. All of our stuff is the Above the Bar podcast, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, uh, or Facebook, Instagram, Facebook. God, dog, Facebook, Instagram. There's too many of these damn things.
Yeah, I
Twitch are
know.
all the Above the Bar podcast. Our Twitter is at Above the Bar 4. Which May, thank you for following our Twitter. I saw that pop up on my screen here a minute ago. May is the best. She's going to share with me her lumpia recipe because I've never made it, and I'll eat the
May's gonna be your new best friend.
they may be my friend. I eat the hell out of some lumpia whenever anybody's got them. We've got some things going on. We're going to give you the last word here in a minute. We've got are you a baseball person? Do you like, I mean, I feel like in Idaho, you should be a baseball person. Baseball and football.
I
Maybe,
mean, I grew
maybe.
up in not a sports family, so I didn't play sports, and my dad did not watch sports, so I didn't grow up around any sports. It's weird.
I
And
just
then
feel
I
like
went to a
anything you do
college
that.
that didn't have a very good football team, so I mean, I was just never really had an opportunity to get really passionate about any teams.
Well, I'm going to put a link here in our show bio. We're giving away a autographed Ian Anderson Atlanta Braves hat and Atlanta Braves baseball game 3 winner of this past year's World Series. So we're gonna give that away. May, I haven't even been on Discord before. You'll have to somebody will have to teach me about Discord.
Yeah.
That's another thing. I'm learning social. Like, it's weird. Like, I always felt like I'm only 45. I'm well into this shit. I'm good.
Yeah.
And then every time I turn around, it's like, well, don't you have a Discord? I'm like, I'm not pissed at anyone. I have no Discord with anyone. And it's like, everybody's like, that's not what this means.
Yeah.
But we're giving away the Ian Anderson, completely free. Ian Anderson hat and glove. I'll put a link here in the show bio. The podcast itself, if you're watching the live right now, will go out at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. So everybody be able to see it on there. If you're looking for Taryn, it is Taryn Hadfield on IG, on Facebook, and on Twitch. It's Taryn_Seattle, just like the city, because that is her middle name, as we learned tonight.
Mhm.
You are amazing. I'm telling you, you are a legitimate star, my dear. You
Thank you.
are on your way. You've got a great following of people that are supporting you, and that's everything.
Yeah.
You've got a great core fan base that's going to share the living daylights out of you. That is going to take care of you, and as long as they're taking care of you, I promise you, you'll go far. You've got some good people supporting you. Now, I forgot to mention this in our pre-show, so y'all don't get to see the behind the scenes. That's a big thing. What do you think? I talked about this. Maybe I'll get your opinion. I thought about making a Patreon and recording the
Ooh,
behind the scenes.
that
What
would be a good idea.
do you
Yeah.
think?
I think I'm a big fan of Patreon. I don't have one, but I want to make one. But like, I've seen a lot of people have success with Patreon, and especially anything you can do that kind of lets people into the behind the scenes stuff is always a good idea.
That's
Like,
my thoughts.
people love that.
And don't forget, folks, we have our T Public. Go out and check out our T Public. We got some new shirt designs. I have my He-Man, but with Samuel L. Jackson. He-Man. It's great.
No.
I don't know if my wife's watching. If she was watching, she'd run upstairs and grab it for me. But it's Grayskull with Samuel L. Jackson in front of it, and it says Grayskull, motherfucker. It's so great.
Oh my gosh.
I made one special for her, and it's got Rainbow Bright and Care Bears and another one of them. Oh, Punky Brewster, and it says it says OG Rainbow Warriors. So
That's fantastic.
that's they were the originals. So we got all these things over there on our T Public site. So make sure you go and check out T Public. Do not disappear from me after this is over with, Miss Taryn, because you and I got a couple of things to finish off our conversation with. But as always on every show, the guest gets the last word. So what is the last word of tonight?
Oh no, I didn't prepare this. Thanks to all the Twitch people for hanging out with me. You guys are really sweet, and it's very heartwarming to see you guys on here. So thanks for hanging out with me tonight. I miss you guys. So hopefully I'll see you guys soon on a stream, and I hope to see you guys there January 5th at 6:30 Pacific.
Alrighty, folks, be sure to push your stool in.
This has been an Earplug Podcast presentation. Found on earplugpodcast.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, and wherever your favorite podcasts are found.